This Weber County Board of Commissioners dated this first day of August 2017 at 10 o'clock. In attendance today is myself, Commissioner James Ebert, Commissioner Carrie Gibson, Commissioner Jim Harvey is excused for the day. We'll start today with an invocation by Christopher Crockett. The Pledge of Allegiance will then be led by Charlie Ewert, and then Commissioner Gibson will give us a thought of the day. Mr. Crockett.
Our kind eternal Father in heaven, we bow our heads with thankful hearts for the many blessings which we have received. We are grateful to live in this great country and grateful to live in this community. We are also grateful to be in the positions that we are, where we may be able to serve the residents of Weber County. We pray that thy Spirit will guide us in our decisions and that we will be able to improve the lives of those we serve. And these things we ask in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please rise. Recite the pledge after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, it's been a little bit of a emotional week for me. We lost some community members in a terrible plane crash here a week ago. And as you know, or as you may know, the viewing and funeral services will be happening today and tomorrow for one of the couples, and tomorrow and Thursday for another one of the couples. One of the individuals was someone who we had the opportunity to work with quite frequently. Was an Ogden City employee, their director of public works. The other was a couple that lived just around the corner from me, the Clarks, who were friends with the Huffkers and were vacationing together, and when the plane went down. It's been an interesting opportunity for me to reflect on the shortness and unpredictability of life and some of the challenges that can come to us when we least expect them. Between these two couples that were so tragically taken on short notice, there's, I believe it's either 8 or 9 children left behind. The Huffkers had 2 serving LDS missions, one close to coming home, and one who had just left. The Clarks had another missionary and a daughter that doesn't stop for all of the family members when something tragic like that happens. There's a lot going on and important things, but it has definitely made me think back a little bit on some of the things that are important to me, and it reminded me when he first started saying that was after the tragic death of his son in Washington, D.C. years ago. And I think he says it at the end of every show, because to him, I think that's a reminder of some of the things that he wished that he would have done differently. And for me, that makes me think a lot about what things I could do differently. And so, in a hurry this morning, as I was a little bit late and I grabbed my little thought book, Life's Little Instruction Book, I just turned to the first open page, and it says this: hold your child's hand. Every chance that you get. The time will come all too soon when he or she won't let you. I don't know how many of you have ever had teenagers, but if you have, you know that that is true. And I'm lucky enough to have had them long enough that a couple of them have gone through that phase and then back again to the point that they're okay with it again. But it definitely has made me think about all of those in my life who I love, whether they be old or young, parent or child, and whether or not I treat them the way that they should be treated, knowing that we never really know when that might be the last opportunity. And so my exam, or my thought is just to remember how we should act and how we should love and give to one another, those who we care about. And right next to this, the thought right next to this one that I just read, I think sums it up really, really well for me. And it says, remember that a good example is the best sermon. So I'm hoping that that we can learn from the examples that we've had around us so as not to make the same mistakes and find ourselves with regret and pain and suffering. Because the time will come when we're all separated for one reason or another. And I'm just hoping that when that does happen, we don't find ourselves with those types of regrets. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gibson. And we would ask those who are watching or attending today to keep the Clark and the Huffaker family in their thoughts and prayers as they are going through a difficult time. Many times in our lives we experiencing these with other families, and we leave for the day, and the next day and the day after we maybe move on with our life while they're still going through tragedies. So we would ask that, keep them in your prayers and thoughts. We move on to our consent items. Item number 1 is a request for approval of warrants 1144 through 1156 and 419198 through 419354 in the amount of $588,000. $588,009.56. Item number 2, request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $96,776.08. Item number 3, request for approval of minutes for the meeting Hicks on July 18th, 2017 and July 25th, 2017. Item 4, request for approval to set a public hearing for August 8th, 2017 at 10 a.m. regarding proposal for creation of an agricultural protection area by K. Sanone. Item number 5, request for approval to set a public hearing for August 15th, 2017 at 10 a.m. regarding proposal for creation of an agricultural protection area by Chamberlain. Item number 6, request from Engineering Department for approval to surplus the Canon plotter scanner. And item number 7, request for approval of amendment number 3 to the Emergency Watershed Section Cooperative Agreement 68-8D43-16-213 between Weber County and NRCS for a 90-day extension to the work on the Ogden River. Commissioner Gibson, do you have any questions, thoughts, or concerns?
No, I'll make a motion to approve the consent items as read.
We have a motion to approve the consent items. I'll second that. If I could have Lynn just touch quickly on our POs and our purchase orders, warrants.
Thank you, Commissioner. For the purchase orders, the top items, $34,000 or 35% for special events, canopies, pipe drape, and table for the Weber County Fair. 31% or $30,000 on recreation facilities admin for concessions and supplies. And finally, $16,000 or 16% to the library for special inspections, materials testing, and landscaping. Under the warrant report, the top items we have, biggest one, $250,000 or 43% out of trust and agency, simply return of escrow funds. Next, $50,000 or $50.8 thousand or 9% to roads and highways, and then finally, $53,000 or 9% of that went to marketing promotions for the Weber County Fair.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent items. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. It passes. Move to item number F, action. Number 1, under action items, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Great Basin Engineering for an ALTA survey of the Weber Center parking structure. Devron Anderson. Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you for your time, commissioners.
I like to say that because it sounds like we're on the Matrix.
I should wear sunglasses and a black suit. As is typical with commercial redevelopment or development, it's critical to know where the boundaries and where the easements are on physical property before buildings are erected or put in place. So we've been working with Sean on this we suggested that we get an ALTA survey done on the property back here before we finish up plans and get going on construction of a parking structure. And we felt that that we would best serve the county in this instance as in a reviewing capacity. So we've opted to get a contract out for a survey firm to perform this work for us, and that we can oversee and review the work that they do. Any questions?
Thank you, Commissioner Gibson.
No questions.
We've discussed this. Okay. I'm open for motion.
Move approval.
I have a motion to approve. I will second that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. It passes. Thank you, sir. Item number 2, request for consideration and or action for final subdivision approval of the Horizon neighborhood at Powder Mountain PRUD. Amendment number 1, Rhonda Kippen. Rhonda Kippen, sorry.
It's just not a familiar name, so I usually just say, hey, it's
Well,
Rhonda.
we all know who Rhonda
It's
is,
just
but
Rhonda.
maybe.
Good morning, commissioners. I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but in order for the considerations for both of these items to go forward for number 2 and 3, technically number 3 needs to be first, because that is the one where we're actually asking for an amendment to the CUP for 4 additional units, which will then go into
Number 2 slot, request for consideration and action for the Summit at Powder Mountain Phase 1 PRUD Amendment. Number 3, request will amend the previous approved site plans for the Horizon neighborhood at Powder Mountain and Village Nest at Powder Mountain. The amendment of the PRUD will increase the overall units in the Summit at Powder Mountain PRUD from 73 unit to 77 units, and will add 1 lodge to the Horizon neighborhood. The amendment will also include another garage structure within the Village Nest at Powder Mountain PRUD. The remaining PRUD area will remain unchanged.
Thank you for modifying the agenda for that. So a while ago, it was back last summer, we amended the PRUD, the overall PRUD for the Summit at Powder Mountain development, which actually took in all of phases 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1D. And we took it to specific areas, which was the Ridge Nest, the Village Nest, Horizon neighborhood, and to the Spring Park Nest unit area. So we basically did a PRUD diet and took it from this entire area down to these 4 specific areas. What we did then is had an overall density in the PRUD of 73 units. The developer has decided to come forward and put 4 additional units in the Horizon neighborhood PRUD. So by doing so, we're increasing the density of this PRUD by 4 units. It's a very minor change. There is available under the original will serve letter, there was 154 units that were allocated to the PRUD. And so this development falls within Powder Mountain Water and Sewer District's area. It's been, for the CUP, it's been reviewed by the Engineering and Planning Department. And so to give you a brief glimpse of the Horizon neighborhood at Powder Mountain, it was initially approved for 26 unit developments with shared parking structures on 5.43 acres. It was approved on November 14, 2016. The proposed amendment will allow for Horizon at Powder Mountain development area to increase in size to include 30 units, 4 garage structures, and 1 lodge on a total development area of 6.31 acres. The proposal includes dedicating 4.96 acres of the 6.31 acres in the Horizon at Powder Mountain PRUD as open space, which is technically 78% of that area will be. 4.96 acres of the 6.31 acres. The CUP is also amending the Village Nest at Powder Mountain, which was approved for 20 units. Basically, again, this is a very small change. The original Village Nest at Powder Mountain was approved as a condominium plat, and last meeting, we actually had it on the agenda for them to change it to a PRUD and to eliminate the condominium element of it and have it act as a PRUD, taking it from 2 shared parking structures to 3 shared parking structures and eliminate the airspace within each unit, so that each unit will have an assigned parking space within a parking garage and no longer be inside somebody else's home. And so this will also correct that, and we're holding up recording on the Village Nest until the CUP is amended so that it is in compliance with the CUP. All other areas of the Summit at Powder Mountain PRUD will remain unchanged. The total PRUD size will be increased from 14 acres with 10.67 acres of open space to 15.6 acres and 10.28 acres dedicated as open space. We do have the applicant's representative here, Rick Everson, if you do have any questions for the developer.
Commissioner Gibson? No questions. The only question I have is why this specific change? What was the thought process between adding the units and then going from 2 units to 3 units?
Or on the parking garages? The condominium plat in the Village Nest, it had a condominium, and then it had 2 parking stalls inside. One stall was assigned to, say, Unit 1. The other parking stall was assigned to Unit 2, which was to the rear of it. And they just decided that they didn't want to do a condominium. It's a little bit more work, I think, harder to get financing for. And so they they wanted to replat it and do parking garage structures so that there's no shared common area within each unit, and just make it very clear that way. So just a difference in development standards. Really didn't give them anything different, just I think just marketability.
Any issues with increasing density?
No, because they have, from what I understand, 2,500 units that are already up there. And so for the 4 additional units being assigned to Horizon, it is not a concern at all. There, like I said before, the key thing that we're looking at is making sure that this fell under the original will serve letter, which we had for 154 units. And this is in the Powder Mountain Water and Sewer District servicing area, and so it was still in compliance with that original will serve.
All right, I have no further questions for me. I'm open for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the PRUD Amendment 3 as stated and read.
I will second it. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. It passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 2/3. I was told to keep them the same, so this is actually item number 2, even though we've moved.
Perfect. Yeah, it would make more. In explaining it, it made more sense to put the CUP forward, and that was my bad. I should have shared that with Shelley when I sent the stuff. I just was so excited that I had it ready on time, which is a rarity for me. So, so the Horizon neighborhood, this plat amendment will be adding 4 units and slightly shifting the remaining units that are up there, the remaining 26 units. The shift in the units is literally by feet, and it is just to actually provide a better view shed for the residents of Horizon neighborhood. The 4 additional units is because they have had such a tremendous interest in this development with this past ski season. And so this one will be increased to 4 parking garages instead of 3. And it will have an overall of 30 units. Initially going into the Horizon development, when we were initially discussing it, the lodge was going to be located on a separate parcel so that it was not part of the HOA. It was not part of the Horizon development. That has actually been changed. They want it to be an amenity to the HOA now, and as opposed to it being separated from the Horizon neighborhood. So the lodge that lot is being incorporated into the Horizon neighborhood PRUD to allow that lodge to be paid for by the HOA, kept up by the HOA, and part of the HOA as an amenity to it.
I like that, part of the HOA.
I do like that too. Any questions that you have on the Horizon?
Commissioner Gibson?
Approval.
I will second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. It passes. Thank you very much, Ron.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much,
the work.
Commissioners. Have a excellent day.
You too.
And I loved your thought for the day.
Thank you.
Item number 4, request for consideration and or action on the application for final approval of the Hidden Haven Estate Second Amendment, consisting of 3 lots and an extended private road, including approval of a subdivision improvement agreement with a financial guarantee. Steve Burton. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Commissioners. The Planning Division has received a request for final approval of a subdivision known as Hidden Haven Estates Second Amendment. This is a 3-lot subdivision. The reason it's being brought before you today is because they're actually, the purpose of the subdivision, of this amendment, is to take acreage from 2 of the existing lots and make a 3rd building lot. And in order to do that, they needed to extend the street. So that's why it's being presented today, along with the subdivision improvement agreement and financial guarantee. If you look just at the staff report, the property, as you can see, is located just north of Pine View. The proposed amendment was unanimously recommended for final approval by the Ogden Valley Planning Commission on April 25th of this year. The financial guarantee for the extended street is $44,221.65, and staff is recommending final approval of the Hidden Haven Estates Second Amendment along with the subdivision improvement agreement. And the recommendation for approval is subject to all review agency requirements and based on the conditions and findings in the staff report. And this has been a very non-controversial project. Just
in the Upper Valley.
yes, it
It's
is.
been non-controversial.
Yes.
Hey, it's good to get them every once in a while.
Building something too.
Yeah, it's building something. Commissioner Gibson.
Motion to approve.
I will second that motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It passes. Thank you very much for your time,
Thank
Mr. Burton. Item number 5, a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Hunter Shriver and Jackson Driver to have a dance party at the 2017 Weber County Fair. Our presenter today is Jan Wilson. I was instructed to ask you a lot of questions today, and you get up there as
I
long as
do
possible.
have a lot of questions.
Okay, well,
The time is yours,
the time,
Jan.
okay. Commissioners, like Commissioner Ebert said, this is a contract between Weber County and Hunter Shriver and Jackson Driver. They are 2 young gentlemen that have actually done these dance parties. They've done them in Layton, and I hope the commissioner's going to be there. They've done them in Layton and
He's
at
the
the
dancer.
exhibit hall.
I've seen
and-
you dance.
Yeah, he was just dancing. You missed it. Scott.
Keep the
The
camera
lower
on the
body
podium, please.
Dancing is amazing. the rhythm.
Alrighty. I've already heard about the splits. So. These 2 gentlemen, I've been working with them since May to try and get this organized. Like I said, they've done a dance party out at the Layton, at the conference center. They've also done one at the exhibit hall. It seems to be that social media is their friend, and they've got thousands of tweets already wanting to know more information about this dance party. It's something that we've been working on, trying to get the youth between 15 and 22, 23 out of the middle of the food court area and into a place where they can socialize. So that is the intent for this dance. The contract's for $4,000. They are handling all the production of it, sound, lights, DJs, everything. We sat down and we figured out that amount by what their costs are going to be, and then they will actually make a little bit of money. But Seems like it'll be a great thing, but we're asking for your approval of this contract today.
Wonderful. Commissioner Gibson, I know that you have a laundry list of questions.
Well, as much as I would like to, really,
I do have
the counsel of Commissioner Harvey.
I do have a question. So we knew a Jim Schreiber from days past. Is he related to Mr. Jim Schreiber?
Not that I know of.
Okay, that's my only question. I'm open for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve this contract and implore everyone within the county and counties near and far to attend the Weber County Fair.
I will second that motion and ask for any further discussion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It passes. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Item number 6, request for approval of a resolution of the County Commissioners of Weber County appointing members to the Boundary Commission. Mr. Christopher Crockett.
Thank you, Commissioners. The Weber County Boundary Commission has 3-member terms that have expired. 2 of those members are appointed by the county legislative body. The terms that have expired were Commissioner Kerry Gibson and former Commissioner Matthew Bell, and they just need to be new appointments need to be made. And the qualifications to serve on the Boundary Commission is that it has to be an elected county officer. The terms would be for 4 years, but I also put a provision in the resolution that if the term of the elected official actually terminates or vacates for a particular reason, the county commission would then reappoint to fill that vacancy.
That sounded ominous. Commissioner Gibson.
This is one of those things that is very infrequent, but we do have some concerns lately with all the talk of annexations that we've had and islands and creating of islands. In my 7 years here, I think we've had 1 boundary commission meeting, so it hasn't been frequent, but nonetheless, I think important, and especially now, I think we have some things to talk about going forward. So I think it's timely that we consider these things and give some direction to members of the public as well as cities as they go through these annexation problems, so we don't create some of the challenges that we're dealing with as far as the islands that we're concerned about now, among other things. A lot of times this will just be a city, 2 different cities that will be having some kind of a disagreement about how, where their boundaries should be, or which annexation plans, which sometimes overlap. Cities can overlap, but annexation plans can and do. So this is fairly important. So with that level of importance, I think I would like to make a motion that we approve the resolution, which is number 30, appointing Commissioner Ebert and Commissioner Harvey as members of the Boundary Commission. Hey, that's what you get
when I only got one guy to make the motion.
I get to make the motion. That works out good, didn't it?
My problem is if I amend the motion, you'll vote against it, and we'll be at 0 again.
Honestly, it doesn't matter to me. We need to appoint 2 elected officials. Generally, it's been commissioners. We could.
Well, I think for me, my preference, if I could second and then amend, would to have Commissioner Harvey, Commissioner Gibson, only because as the chair, I want to be able to be neutral as this is brought forward back to the commission. Would that be something you're comfortable with a friendly?
Sure. I'm not sure that it's necessary, but
oh, it's necessary.
as far as neutrality, I think we all have that same duty. But I understand your point, and I'm fine with that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and then a friendly amendment to the motion, which I believe was just seconded. Correct. Okay. Fatima.
Commissioner Gibson?
Aye.
Chair Ebert?
Aye. It passes. Thank you very much, and I appreciate Commissioner Gibson allowing me to make a friendly amendment to that motion. Item number G, request for a motion to adjourn the public meeting and convene a public hearing.
So moved.
So moved and seconded. Fatima? This is just a public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It passes. Item number 2, under public hearing to receive public comment and for discussion and or decision on the proposed Western Weber County Resource Management Plan, Charlie Ewert. Mr. Ewert, glad to have you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Happy to be here. So as you both know, a couple of years ago, the state code was changed to amend CLUDMA, County Land Use Management Development Act, to add in one more requirement for our general plans, and that requirement is to have a county resource management plan. That county resource management plan needs to address 28 specific resources, and those are listed in your staff report. The 50-some-odd pages that follow the staff report is the proposed county resource management plan. It also has a attachment to it which includes all of the goals, objectives, and policies of public agencies related to the resource management of their own properties and their own resource responsibilities. Essentially, what our plan does is it documents the existing state of resource management in Weber County. It gives a sense of confidence in resource management with our state and federal agencies as they currently exist, and suggests that should they ever change, they need to change in a manner that essentially works with Weber County's current general plan and planning practices. To kick off this project, we put together a stakeholder committee and a steering committee, and that consisted of business owners, it consisted of farmers, it consisted of state lands, state mining, and essentially a good conglomeration of people to talk about resource management in Weber County. We identified 5 specific resources that were really important in Weber County, and then from there we were able to really tailor our plan based off of those 5 resources while also addressing the 28 other items listed under state code. There was one request which I just got, requested addition, and that is, if you turn to Chapter 3, which is on page 29, you'll see the goals, policies, and implementation strategies for land.
Page 29?
Land resources. It's not 29 in the PDF. It's listed as page 29 of the plan.
Do you know?
It's probably going to be in the 30s.
I see.
Once you get to the plan, you got page numbers at the bottom. So this isn't written onto that page, but one last recommendation from our surveyor's office. There are some monuments that are either missing or inadequate out in the lakeside area of the resource management area. And so there's a request to add the following language onto this page. It's policy, public land survey monuments. And it says 70% of public land survey monuments are missing and need to be rehabilitated. And the implementation strategy for that policy would be the county will pursue installation and rehabilitation of all inadequate monumentation. Just leaving it at that, just kind of document our intent to ensure that we get that done. That's the plan. Any questions for me?
Any questions before we go to public comment?
No.
Okay, this is the time set aside for any public comment specific to the Western Weber County Resource Management Plan, which is a plan that was required by a state code in 2016, 17. It was fairly recently.
Yeah, 2015 amended in 2016.
Okay. This is the time we have set aside. Okay, seeing that we have no public here to comment on this Western Weber management plan, any thoughts, questions, or concerns for you, Commissioner Gibson?
No. I'll make a motion to adjourn the public meeting and reconvene the public hearing.
I will second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Commissioners, that would be adopted by Resolution 30 if you choose.
Okay. Any action from the public hearing, Commissioner Gibson?
I'm sorry, 31.
Commissioner, would you, I'm just seeing a couple of things that I have a couple of questions on. We've met the requirement for the public hearing. Would you have any opportunity opposition to holding this a week until next week. There's just a couple of things that I don't feel quite, and I apologize because Charlie asked me this morning if I was good with it, and I just saw a couple things I'd like to run by him. And it's mainly, and it probably is understandable, but if you wouldn't mind,
I have no
would
problems
like
with
to have that.
We can hold that.
I think I'd like to hold that, and we could take action without having another public hearing, correct? And advertising that. I think I will just say this before we leave, and that is that I really believe that this is a good idea. I think the purpose of this legislation that Charlie referred to was right-headed from the standpoint that counties have more authority than we give ourselves credit for sometimes on with this federal and state-owned land, and that sometimes we need to assert ourselves a little bit more and say, this is what we want to have happen. This is what we expect to have happen. And I think being the level of government that is closest to the people, I think it's so important that we understand what those things are, and that we are careful about about asserting those rights on behalf of those who we represent. And so there was also, along with that legislation, some financial assistance I know that was offered to counties to help draft a plan. I don't know if we were able to take advantage of that or not in the end, but it sounds like we were. So I think this represents a ton of hard work on Charlie's part, and everything I see with just a couple of quick questions, it looks really good, and I appreciate that and the work and effort that's gone into that. So with that, I think it's important that we express this as one of those times when I think the state got it right by encouraging us to get in the game, especially in a county like ours, where we don't have a ton of public lands like some of the others. We sometimes don't think about it as an issue, because when we come to our weekly commission meetings, it's not all about public lands like a lot of these very, very rural counties. But we still do have a lot of that interface. We do have a lot of interfaces we're finding out of the reservoir with the Forest Service and our state agencies out west, and anyway, so I just think this is a good thing. I appreciate your effort here, and we'll get it back on next week. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Charlie, for all the work. Seeing no action taken from the public hearing, we'll move to item K.
I'll move that we adjourn.
I'll second that motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you next week.